Good morning, my dear friends. I am Prashant Mavani and I warmly welcome all of you to StudyIQ. Let's have a positive start. Don't find fault, find a remedy. Said by Henry Ford. Now, the thing is, you will observe this thing. You will find most of the people, right? They are very good at finding faults, but there are only few people, those winners, right? People with positive attitude. They, of course, know or they can identify fault, but at the same time, they work on remedy. And this is the success mantra. This is a change of mindset that we need to inculcate. With this difference, we have many important articles on board. Let me take you through one of the most important articles. This is about global warming. We are going to talk about this article in detail. Then you have this interesting article about renewable energy, how creating jobs for women is possible in renewable energy sector, and what are the barriers and things that are creating hurdles. Very important facts are given in this article. Then you have the Singapore Sling, a meeting that is going to take place between Mr. Trump and Kim Jong-un in Singapore. We'll talk about that as well, what is going to be a big hurdle for this meeting. And here is again a very interesting article, what the Kathua rape means. We'll go through this one in detail as well. This one is about alien versus alien. It's basically about this Citizen Amendment Bill 2016, some of the problems that we can find with this bill. And then you have these two articles. This one is about President of India. He was just there for 1 hour and he gave away only 11 awards. So there were many people who basically rejected this national awards. Normally it is given by president, but because president decided that he will stay there for only 1 hour and he will give awards to only 11 people. So there are big questions, right? The question is how so far means we don't know how nominees are picked, right? This has remained a mystery. The other thing is cinema is a very important, you can say, medium for integrating our country as well. It has in fact helped. Many inspirational movies have had their effect of integrating the country. When we are doing this sort of things, when the government of India is when I say president, of course we are talking about government of India. So when government of India is not present there, when president is not giving away these awards to all those people, then of course people will reject it. So this is that's everything about it, not that important. This one is about ceasefire in Jammu and Kashmir. Now, unilateral ceasefire is being declared by Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir, but this article will take you through the past of this sort of unilateral ceasefire declared by Atal Bihari Vajpayee and how it can still create more troubles. Means last time when we declared this unilateral ceasefire, means ceasefire violation were continued by Pakistan. So we have talked about Jammu and Kashmir issue many a time, so it's going to be an easy read for you because we have other articles. So I'll leave these two articles for you. This one you can have a quick glance. This one is going to be an easy read. So let's move on, dear friends. If you want to download the PDF of today's discussion, you'll get it from my Facebook page and Twitter handle. Don't forget to pass your like if you learn something from today's discussion, and do share this lecture with other people as well. You can share it on your social networking site too. Today is the last day of 50% discount that is available on our pen drive and tablet courses. So if you haven't got our pen drive and tablet courses yet, I will recommend you guys to get it as soon as possible. Today is last date. Now the thing is, this article, it talks about it gives us basic background information about Paris Agreement. If you don't know what Paris Agreement is all about, I will recommend you guys to go through it. Very important milestone as far as global warming is concerned. It was held in December 2015. Of course, you can see here the name Paris, so it was held in France, Paris. And technically speaking, it is called this meeting of Conference of Parties, right? COP21. This was 21st meeting of this parties, so it is known as Conference of Parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Now this Paris Agreement came into force in November 2016. I have got a small question for you, and this will push you to do a little bit of research. Can you let me know how it came into force, or what are the technical things that you have to fulfill? How many countries have to sign it? What is the weight of this carbon emission, or countries? How many means if a few countries sign it, then can it come into force? How it came into force, basically, right? You have to go through two important figures. I will leave it on you guys to do a little bit of research, and this way of self-study will help you. This research habit will help you, of course. And let's see who is the first one from you guys to get it right. Even though if you are not first, then make sure that you post your answer and do a little bit of research. Now, after this COP21, there was COP22, and later on this COP23. COP23 is very important. The reason is that it took place in 2017 in Bonn. Bonn is a city of Germany. The head of this meeting was Fiji. It's a bit strange, isn't it, that the meeting is taking place in Germany, but the head is Fiji. Why is that so? First of all, Fiji is a small island. If you find thousands of people coming into Fiji for this Bonn 2017, then of course with limited resources, this country is going to face a crisis. Crisis in the sense limited resources will be diversified for this Bonn conference. Now, Bonn is a city that is having good infrastructure and things like that, so it was decided that this meeting should take place in Bonn. But the reason why Fiji was allowed, or you can say Fiji took a leadership role, or it was this head of this COP23, is because small island nations are becoming aggressive, and their aggression is right. When I say aggressive, I'm not saying that they are taking out guns and things like that. They are aggressive in terms of this climate change thing, because there are so many islands, right? They are on verge of extinction. A little bit of sea rise or sea level rise, and they will be destroyed. So from here, from this Bonn 2017 meeting, you get this Talanoa dialogue as well. Today we don't have that much time to explain Talanoa dialogue, but in future, if something like this comes in, then I will definitely explain what it is all about. And one more thing, if you want to know more about this Bonn or COP23 meeting, I have already delivered a special video lecture. Yes, in that one I have talked about this Talanoa dialogue as well. So make sure you go through that one. And dear friends, yesterday I told you that I will come out with a special video lecture on this thunderstorm thing that is going on, isn't it? So yes, I took out some, from this schedule, I managed to deliver a lecture on English. Hindi one was already out on Sunday. So I will again reckon you guys that do go through it. I'm here, let me clarify that I'm not trying to promote my videos here. The reason why I'm saying is, once you will go through this article that is here, and once you'll go through this one and this two special video lectures, you will realize for yourself that you have covered a very important topic. Climate change, I have said this thing again, and if you don't believe me, then check your past papers and you will find this thing, that questions based on climate change, global warming, from different angle, you can expect at least one question. And you should never, this sort of topics are easy to understand, and they are scoring topics, so you should have this much of in total you would be spending what, 1 hour, isn't it, for this 3 videos, and there you go, your one big topic is covered. You'll get many important points. Now the thing is, this Bonn 23 conference took place, and if I give you a conclusion of this thing, right, it was not that successful. The main aim of this Bonn 23 was to create rules and regulation for this COP21. We'll go through that as well. But now what we find is that on between this April 30th to 10th May, there was another meeting, a 2-week-long meeting was held in Bonn again, to come out with this operational guidelines and main targets of this Bonn, this recently held Bonn meeting, this April to May one, was first of all to come out with this framework, like how we are going to define and how we are going to measure the commitments that are been given by different countries. India has said that we will reduce somewhere around 30 to 33% of carbon emission based on 2005 level by 2030. This is our commitment. So There are commitments from other countries as well, countries that have signed this COP. Now it is applicable throughout the world because of this framework, how it came in. So it is applicable to the whole United Nations countries. Now, of course, we know that Mr. Trump has stepped out of it, but as far as other countries are concerned, it is applicable on them. So how we are going to define like how much a particular country will reduce, or what is their target and things like that. The other thing is how we are going to monitor whether they are following this defined measures and targets. This were the two main targets of this Bonn conference, this recently held Bonn conference. I'm not talking about this COP23 now, I'm talking about this meeting here. I just want to clarify it, I don't want any confusion here. So this was the main agenda. Now the thing is, have we got any success? Again, no. So to achieve these two items, to achieve these two targets, which are very, very important, because once, if you don't have definition, if you don't have measures, if you don't have any monitoring system, then everyone will come out with their own, unique way. They will say that we have reduced 50%. Someone will say that we have reduced 20%. So this way you cannot allow these things, because it is a big threat for the whole world. The other thing is, because of this insufficient progress, now it is decided that before COP24, Conference of Party 24 is going to take place in Poland this year, December. But before that, it has been decided that there should be a meeting, interim meeting, and this is going to be held in Bangkok. And again, it is about this rule books, right? This COP21 or Paris Agreement's rules and regulations will be decided, and it was decided earlier on as well that before COP24 all rules and regulations should be out there, so that all you need to do is implementation. By the way, this recently held meeting is also called SB 48. Now this is a technical thing, just keep this thing in mind when it comes to implementation of this thing. It is this scientific and technological advice, right? This is known as SBSTA, and this SBSTA, that is this SBSTA includes this a subsidiary body of implementation, scientific and technological advice. This was the 48th meeting, so it is known as SB 48, just in case if you find a question in your MCQ regarding this sort of thing. So keep this thing in mind. Now, what are the problems that we are finding? First of all, we need a sustainable development model. The way things are going on around the world, and you will find out in this thunderstorm lecture that the way things are going on are dangerous. We are on a suicide mission, you can say. The other thing is nationally determined contributions, NDCs, flow of funds from rich country to poor countries, and inclusive sustainable development. These are the three things that are required. What we are finding again and again, that when it comes to financial support, when it comes to technological transfer, the big countries, these developed countries, are creating more and more troubles. What they want, and when it was back in 2000, I think it was in 2005 or something, can't remember the exact year, but anyways, in this Copenhagen summit, it was decided that from 2020, right, from 2020, each year, remember these points are very important, every year $100 billion will be contributed, and this contribution will come from developed countries, and these developed countries will give this money to different poor and developing countries, so that they can adopt latest technology, as well as money can be provided, so that over there as well we can have sustainable development. And the reason why this was decided is because there are so many countries, like take Fiji, there are many countries out there, right? There is a long list. Those countries have not done anything that has contributed to this greenhouse gases. But what is happening is that they are facing this threat from rise of sea level. They are the ones who are getting affected because of this greenhouse gases and global warming. And these developed countries, what they are trying to, or the reasons that they are putting here is that they want to increase the number of donors. They are saying that China and India should contribute as well. Then you have a point from these developed countries. They are saying that there are some countries that don't need this money. They should be excluded from this fund thing. And the other thing is whether these funds are part of distinct from the official development assistance and so on. So by using this sort of arguments, things are getting delayed, and these rules and regulations that we want to frame so that they can be implemented as soon as possible, the more delay we will have, the more damage we are going to create. Simple as that. And this Paris Agreement is going to last till 2030. So one of the main agenda in COP24 will be that in Poland, that is going to take place in Poland, we are going to raise this bar here, that it should cover period beyond 2030. 2030 is not far, 15 years. We are not going to achieve that much, because still you can see here we are in 2018, not even 15 years to go. We are in somewhere around 12 years, right? 12 and a half years to go. So still rules and regulations are not formed yet, and it is believed that by the end of century we will clock 3 degrees Celsius, and if we clock 3 degrees Celsius, if there is an increase of average global temperature more than 2 degree or somewhere around 3 degree, then this is going to be catastrophic. This is going to be deadly for each and every one of us. Here this article talks about a solution, and this is a very interesting, very important point here. How we can reduce, or when it comes to global warming, how we can reduce it. Pressure from youth, especially in rich countries. These youngsters from rich countries, they can pressurize their government to fund, to transfer this technology to all these poor countries and reduce their carbon emission. This is one of the best way. This is a very unique, I haven't heard about this sort of solution so far, so this is a very unique thing for me as well. This is a very right point too, so keep this point in mind, very important. Again, moving on to another item, this is about renewable energy and creating jobs for women. Now McKinsey Global Institute has came out with its report, and it says that India can increase GDP by 60%, right? We are not talking about GDP expansion of 60%, but if our GDP is expanding at 10% rate per year, for example, then 60% addition means we can clock 16%. Just want to clarify this thing. I don't want any confusion. So by 2025, we can increase our GDP by 60%, and for that, the key is we need women's participation, right? We have talked about this thing, you know it very well, that even today housewife work is not considered as part of economy. Imagine how much money you save, a house will save when the lady of the house is cooking food for the family, when she is looking after other household works and things like that. But the money that we save, roughly around 10 to 15,000 per year, is per month is saved by, I'm talking about a general average family. It will be saved by a household lady, isn't it? But we don't calculate it when it comes to GDP. Now the thing is, there are many social as well as cultural constraints in our country. We know it very well. Even today we are having this two division. One is India and one is called Bharat. Bharat is considered, there are different definitions, but here we can use it, India, as a more modern country, and Bharat is still that orthodox word that we find in our country, where women are not allowed to work outside. Anyways, we know this reality, so we are not going deeper into it. But the thing is, nowadays what we are finding, and there was a question, mains examination question based on this type of statement, and it is very interesting. You don't find answers of this type of questions in any book. You have to observe and think about it. So what we find nowadays is that working women in our country, they have this double burden, right? They have to do their job as well, and at the same time they have to look after household, as well as parenting responsibilities are also given on them. So they have both. They have to manage this personal as well as professional life, and this creates toll on body, toll on their overall being, happiness and other things. So it should be, it's of course, understanding of man will help a lot here. Now the thing is, as far as this renewable energy is concerned, this is our target, that by 2022 we are going to achieve 175 gigawatt of energy will be coming from renewable energy, and this can create 330,000 jobs. Recently, our power minister said that we are definitely going to touch this 175, but we will also cross 200 gigawatt by 2022. So this is, of course, a good news. Now, World Bank says that, and this is right, we have 270 million Indians living in poverty. 240 million, they don't have access to electricity. So Bhagya scheme will hopefully provide them. But we have talked about this thing a couple of days ago, isn't it? That people who are so poor, how can they afford electricity? And electricity is a very basic thing. Again, we have talked about this thing a couple of days ago, so not going into detail of this basic necessity of electricity and how it can work as a base. Now the thing is, we also see this thing that when it comes to renewable energy, participation of women in our country is quite low, and I have a data for you here. World Bank ranks India out of 131 country. Our rank is 120th, which is a very shameful rank as far as female labor force participation is concerned. Now what we find is this, this skill training program and other things, they have some problems with it. They have this barriers are that if you want to join this technical training institution, then you should at least have a class 12th certificate, or you should have cleared your class 12th. Now there are many women in our country. We have talked about this thing, social and other things, so you can understand that there are many girls out there, they are not allowed to study after 8th or 9th standard because of various different reasons, social reason. Many times we have also seen this thing that not having this toilet facilities in school is one of the reason as well. Lack of transportation and other things. Many times you will find this sort of reasons in your NCERT books. I can remember it now as I'm talking to you that there are some good examples given in your NCERT books, and I'm sure you might have gone through it, or you will go through it in near future. So there are many things, but now when you create this sort of hurdles, when you come with this sort of technicalities that class 12 necessary, then of course women are not going to get that training, right? We need this public and private partnership, that they should train particularly this rural woman, because this energy target that we are trying to achieve, most of this energy target or most of this solar energy grids and solar energy plants and other things, they are going to take place in rural area, because we cannot it is again not sustainable to stretch this long wires from national grid to different remote parts of our country. So we need more decentralized power grids and more renewable energy, or this sector is quite promising, solar and wind. So the more we train our women, right, if we can add mobile training modules, if we can have customized training as well as hours of engagement, safety and sanitation facility, location, if we can add all these things, if we can make it more practical, then we can add more women in this thing. Women can work in this or they can contribute very well in this renewable energy sector, because we have already seen that there is a potential of 330,000 jobs, and this will work or give motion to the whole economy. More and more people will be trained by this already trained woman. Moving on to Kathwa rape, what it means, it basically means genocidal majoritarianism. What exactly it means in places, see, one thing is about majority and minority. It's not just about India. If you go to any part of the world, right, minority, they can never revolt. I'm not saying that they are not powerful. Please try to understand the statement here, that they means when you are in minority, you are not in a position to create that much damage. Even if you are being tortured, you have to suffer. This is how it works, and there is historical evidence for this thing as well. Take this example of Jews in Europe during this Holocaust, or you can go through different parts of the world. Here you have many examples. Rohingya women were raped in Myanmar. You find this Bangladesh, right, during this 1971. Uh, women of Bangladesh were raped by Pakistani soldiers, and then you have this Yugoslavia, the case of former Yugoslavia in 1990s, right? Bosnia, then Croatian and Albanian Muslim women were raped by this majority people over there. And this article is basically talking about that something like this means the message here. You know, this rape case of Kathua, where a small child, 8-year-old child, was raped, and after that we saw this Hindu Muslim sort of thing. We have also seen this, you know, I'm from Gujarat and I know this thing. I have studied the history of Gujarat, and it's quite interesting that history of Gujarat, you find that Muslim kings, right, they have built many temples, Hindu temples. You also find that Hindu kings have built mosques, and they have promoted this fraternity and other things. This was the fabric of Gujarat. But after this 2002, what we find, and this is something that I have heard from many educated people as well, that they have this stereotype against each other. You know, Hindus, they are saying that Muslims are this and that, and Muslims are saying that Hindus are this and that. I'm not saying everyone in Gujarat is affected by this thing, but a small chunk of people, they do carry this sort of mentality, and this is again against the social fabric of Gujarat society, because it was nothing like that if we go back in the history of Gujarat. Now, senior lawyer of this means Vrinda Grover, who is a senior lawyer as well as legal activist, she said that it was not just a sexual crime, it was also a political crime, because this Kathua rape has created a big dent on our, or you can say it has damaged this secularism in our country. What secularism is all about in our country? It is about equal citizenship, right? Everyone is equal. Freedom of religion. You can opt for any religion you like. If you think that if you want to convert to Muslim or Christian, or if you want to get converted into Hindu or Buddhism, it is your personal choice, right? This is allowed in our country, not because we have constitution, or it is said in the constitution. It is said in the constitution because India has always accepted different ways of worshipping, different ways of reaching to one, either you can call it God, Allah, nature, Bhagwan, Ishwar, right? Different path we have always accepted that it will lead you to one point. So this is the thing. And protection of minority, if we are claiming that we are a democratic country, then one of the most important benchmark is, or this way to measure is, are minorities feeling safe in our country? This is a thing through which we can say that yes, we are a proud democratic country. Now, this is not just legal, right? It is also part of this. It is a scaffolding. You know, the scaffolding, how it holds the whole building. So we have this laws, we have conventions, we have practices, habits, norms, traditions. All these things together make our country a secular country. And the sad thing about this, now, of course, we know that Supreme Court has transferred this case from Jammu and Kashmir to Pathankot, so that as far as possible trial can go on. It will be video recorded and everything. But the most horrific part is, of course, rape itself is one of the most horrific thing. Raping a small child, 8-year-old, and that too in a temple. So people have basically, crossed all their limits. They are devils, and we need to protect this secularism, because it will define the future of our country. Anyways, I have a strong faith in our constitution and system as well. We find this sort of things, but I'm sure justice will be delivered. And this sort of we have good sensible people as well in our country, no doubt, and youngsters are quite sensitive as well as sensible. So this gives us a hope that future is going to be all right. We see this caste and other things are fading away in urban centers, in different parts, in semi-urban centers as well. So hopefully in near future, this sort of things will fade away. With this, we have Singapore sling. Now, very easy to understand. Now, let me declare the date, right? Kim Jong-un and Mr. Trump, they are going to meet in Singapore on 12th June. Now, this is going to be historic. It was unimaginable. But anyways, what we can understand, and one thing that will create hurdles here is Iran nuclear deal. The unilateral decision of Mr. Trump to step out of this thing will create more troubles. Mr. Kim will not trust USA's commitment, and this will create more problems. This one is about alien versus alien. It is about Citizenship Amendment Bill 2016. Very briefly, what this bill is doing is it is giving a green signal to Hindus who are migrating from different countries. But when it comes to Muslims and other minorities, then it is creating hurdles. So this editorial is talking about that government should look into it. This bill is not a proper bill. These amendments are not proper. It should be more, constitutional. It should be more taking everyone on board, or not distinguishing people based on their religion. Now we have some important news. Central government has said that its say is final on Kaveri. This has been said in the Supreme Court. Let's see what Supreme Court will decide, or what will be its stand on this thing. Rathore has replaced Irani as INB minister. 12 killed in this Bengal rural poll violence. These are, of course, articles in today's Hindu. Make sure you go through all these articles. I'm just highlighting important articles here. So far, 80 people have died. Not so far, but 130 plus 80. So we are talking about somewhere around 210 or 220 people have died so far. Article 35, what it is all about, just given here. It is about permanent residentship. 550 Indians in Qatar, they are struck. Modi is going to meet Putin in near future. Iran foreign minister in Russia to save this nuclear deal. Retail inflation goes up. And intrastate e-way bill, 2 more state added. So far 21 state under this e-way bill thing. What do you make of this very funny as well as interesting picture that we find? These are your answers. I have gone through the answer of Ashok, Suman and Divya. Thank you very much for writing your answer. One thing that I would like to add here, of course your answers are right, but one point I would like to add here, that at that point of time it was a rule, right? This rule was decided by this British government that if something goes wrong, if you have drought situation and things like that, then your tax will be you don't have to pay your this revenue or tax on your agriculture output. But this was not followed by government, and this was one of the main reason why Gandhiji was able to, based on this point, we got some success. Moving on to another, I have 3 MCQ questions for you guys. Thank you very much for listening. Make sure you make the most out of this 50% discount, and do share this lecture, and don't forget to pass your like if you learned something from today's discussion. Enjoy your day. God bless you all. Jai Hind.